Hello, everyone. Welcome to this beautiful Tuesday. Let's wait a few more minutes for the others to join. Let's say 1 minute. Um, yeah, I'm really excited about this webinar because there are many people who joined the webinar. I think around 150. So this is really great. I think it's the topic, agentic commerce. I will start with the introduction because we have a lot of slides today. So it will be 45 minutes, maybe a bit more, um, to go through this topic here. Um, I'm Adrian, in charge of everything around content at Lengow. Lengow is there to help brands and retailers thrive online with intelligent e-commerce solutions. But I'm not here to talk about Lengo today. I'm not going to sell you anything. I'm just here to talk about agentic commerce and to give you my honest take on it, to share the research, my findings, on the topic and to answer the question hype, hope, or reality. I think in the chat, someone shared some links. If you want to follow Lengo or myself on LinkedIn, feel free to do it to be updated about the latest developments in e-commerce, and as well if you want to join our industry newsletter every 2 weeks about a specific topic in the industry. So I see many people are here. I would say just let's go. A first slide, really, to introduce the topic. February 2026. There are three numbers I want to share. The first one is 120 million. This is the agentic transactions in a single week on Alibaba alone. The second one, during the same time, is 12. 12 Shopify merchants live at the time for OpenAI instant checkout, which was killed after. And the third one is 12.8, which is the percentage of the 30-day retention rate after subsidize ended on Alipay. And we will see that, I mean, the first number here, 120 million, looks like a revolution. The second one, 12, it's a failure. And the last one tells a different story, and we will go back later to these numbers. But all the numbers here are related to agentic commerce. We will today go through 6 major topics. We will start with agentic commerce and what it is actually and what not. Then we will have a look at different forms of agentic commerce that exist today. Then we will closely look at OpenAI's retreat of instant checkout, and this is a big signal of 2026. Then we will look at a study, and I just call it the study. It will be a surprise. Then, as well, about China, we need to talk about China. Is there really the agentic commerce miracle we have seen just in the previous slide? And then, what this all means for brands and retailers. So, for you. First part, agentic commerce. There are a lot of headlines. It feels like every week there's a new announcement. Here, for example, Starbucks announcing an app inside ChatGPT. The other day it was Gap being live on Gemini with instant checkout, by the way. Or you have Carrefour announcing an app in ChatGPT. Tesco just a few days ago launching a new AI assistant. Sephora and ChatGPT, and now as well SNCF Connect in France launching its app on ChatGPT. So every week you have some news around this topic. But what actually is agentic commerce? It's not so easy to get one definition. This is maybe the best one I came up with. It's the delegation of commercial decisions to autonomous AI systems with the goal of collapsing the steps between intent and transaction. So two keywords here at least, delegation and autonomous. And it raises one big question. It's the tension between brand and retailers, like the risk of disintermediation if agentic commerce becomes a big thing. But honestly, even the experts can fully agree on this today. Some take a hardline view. So, for example, from product discovery to price negotiation to checkout, all done autonomously on your behalf. This could be agentic commerce. And then others see it as a spectrum. An agent simply needs to take an autonomous action or sequence of actions on the user's behalf. So when you hear someone speak with absolute certainty about what agentic commerce is, my advice, be a little suspicious because the market is still defining itself. But we know what agentic commerce is not. It is not e-commerce recommendation engines. So, for example, the famous Amazon's customers also bought. This is just reactive and static recommendations. Here, what is missing is the autonomous action. As well, chat bots are not agentic commerce. Chatbots are turn-based and reactive as well, and agents are more on the transactional execution focused on this. And as well, ChatGPT helping you write a gift list, for example, is really not agentic commerce. This is just, as put here, cognitive assistance, but there's not a decision logic behind it. So for me, there are three main questions related to agentic commerce today. It's really about who owns the last mile of consumer intent. It's really here the battle of consumer intent, and as well who owns the decision moment and the transaction moment. These are the two keywords. And whoever owns these three, I would say, owns the next decade of e-commerce. That's what's actually being fought over right now. Also, a really important word, agent washing. So, a lot of projects say they are agentic AI projects, but actually, as Gartner estimates, over 40% of agentic AI projects will be canceled by 2027. The question is why? Because most of what's sold as agentic simply at the end isn't. So, as well as Heather from IDC puts it pretty well, many agentic AI products on closer inspection are AI copilots or LLM wrappers. So there's no agent in the agentic AI. So whenever you hear agentic from a vendor, I would say really ask the simple question, where is the autonomous action here? So really ask what is really agentic about it. I think the most important framework we have today is the one from McKinsey to really get to understand what the agentic commerce and the term autonomous really is. Um, there are six different levels. The level zero is programmatic convenience. So it's really set and forget rule-based subscriptions, as for example, Amazon subscribe and save. So this is really not agentic. Then we have the assistant level, which is level one. Here it's all about agent researches, compares, explains, even trade-offs, but no card, no transaction. This is, I would say, where most of today's shopping interactions with ChatGPT, etc., actually sit. The next level is assemble. Here we are talking more about a personal shopper. So agent builds a checkout ready basket. I don't know, for example, put together a warm winter outfit under $150. But it still waits for the human approval. Um, then you have the next one, which is authorized. This is um, when a consumer delegates rules and not just tasks. So, for example, order groceries if total stays under $120 and delivery is Friday between 6 and 8 p.m. This would be a rule, and the agent executes end to end within bounded authority from the consumer. The next level of this would be autonomize. So the agent operates against ongoing goals. So it's really, I don't know, keep monthly household spending under $300. And so the agent is anticipating needs across different merchants. So he knows, okay, not more than $300. I know what my consumer, my user wants, and I will just buy it. And level five is the network autonomy. So when really we speak agent to agent, so personal agents negotiate directly with merchant agents and other agents, but this is really theoretical today, so not there yet. But what is really important that it's not that zero is bad and five would be the best here. It's really that delegation varies by category. So for task-orientated categories like household goods, for example, as I mentioned, um, delegation climbs the curve quickly. So a user, consumer can easily delegate more here. But for identity-orientated categories, I don't know, like luxury, for example, or other milestone purchases, I would say delegation stalls more on a level one to two. So it really depends on what kind of business we are talking, what kind of products, and the intent from the consumer, actually. So this is really, really important to keep in mind. But we also need to look a little bit back. I mean, do you remember Google Shopping Actions, for example, or Buy on Google? This was when Google wanted to build its own marketplace, but failed. They tried it during 5 years, um, not a success. And today, when Google tries to build something that as the Universal Commerce Protocol with Gemini behind it, um, you need to know that a transaction completed inside Gemini is a transaction that doesn't go through a Google Shopping ad. So it's kind of a lost revenue for Google, basically, because the commission that Google takes, maybe in this transaction, need to be as high as the ad revenue, on Google Shopping. So this is something not so easy to handle, which also explained maybe that the marketplace was not a huge success. Google Glasses as well, more than 10 years ago. We had the Vision Pro from Apple, were a big success. Then, of course, voice commerce was supposed to change everything years ago, but it didn't. Same with Metaverse. These are here failed, more or less failed projects. I mean, glasses are back now, but for a long time it was a failed project. On the other side, we have social commerce, live commerce, and these are commerce forms which are very popular in Asia, but not so much in the Western world right now. I mean, it's coming with TikTok Shop, of course. We have seen it during 2 years, as well as in Europe, and also new players such as Whatnote, for example, in the US, also coming to Europe. So there is something happening. And agentic commerce, I will put it here because it's a bit the same pattern that in Asia it's more advanced. So it's a bit the same pattern as social live commerce at the time. And maybe in the future we can talk here about a kind of Chinesification of Western e-commerce. This would be my thesis here, that in the coming years we will see something like this coming. Let's go to part two, which kind of different forms of agentic commerce we have today. So in the center, of course, agentic commerce, like the idea. First of all, we have the conversational discovery. I already mentioned it. Here, it's about more AI-assisted product discovery with everything you know, ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, and so on. The other one is browser agents. So here we talk about Perplexity's Comet, OpenAI's Atlas, or even Claude in Chrome. And um, it's the buy for me logic. So, but today these attempts to navigate third-party websites like a human is not really realistic, and it's the most technical, ambitious form, I would say, and also the most legally contested. So for now, the hype is not really there. Then we have native brand and retailer agents. Famous, of course, Rufus in Amazon, for example, or Sparky in Walmart. But there are a lot of different other examples from smaller retailers as well. I will come back to this later. And then protocol native commerce, which is really more about instant checkout. It had a hard time when OpenAI dropped instant checkout, but Google really wants it. So they are working on it, and I would say the strongest protocol so far, maybe the most used, is the Universal Commerce Protocol by um, Google and other players. And we also have the ACP, the Agentic Commerce Protocol by OpenAI and Stripe, which is always also used, but there's a kind of battle between them. Yeah, these are the four forms today. I would say only one of them is really mainstream, which is the conversational discovery, and the native brand retailer agents are close to it. There's a lot happening there. But before we go more into that, I want to share that agentic commerce, I would say you need to see it more as a layer than a channel which will replace other channels we know. So you would have an agentic interface layer with LLMs, retail agents, as we have just seen at the very beginning. And then you have all the other channels you already know, like pure players, omni-channel players, social commerce, on demand, D2C, even B2B. Um, and the discovery, what's happening is just moving upstream into the conversation. So execution is still happening today where it always has on different channels. But the discovery changed really. It moved a lot into the agentic interface layer here. So this is one graph to show things right now. Um, and this is where we are actually, where we stand. Let's go to part three, really to deep dive more into OpenAI and their plan and what they actually want on this agentic commerce. But first, I want to start with a question here. Like, what is the only non-native e-commerce app that got instant checkout right in the Western world? So I will give the answer because we don't have so much time. Actually, it's TikTok Shop. So TikTok Shop was not a native e-commerce app. It was, of course, more about social. It's a social video app, but they turned into a e-commerce app in a certain way. And they got instant checkout right in the Western world. As you can see, TikTok Shop is performing pretty well in the US and now also in Europe. Something that OpenAI did not achieve. They tried it, but there was another end to it. So here's the timeline to remember you what happened. In September 2025, they started their instant checkout. 1 month later, a lot of e-commerce partners, retail partners joined. Beginning of 2026, first launches with Instacart, Target, etc., and also apps. So companies could build interactive applications that run inside ChatGPT. But then in March, to the surprise of everyone, I would say, instant checkout scaled back, was essentially in a certain way killed for now, and one very specific business model and use case in a certain way died. And then, 1 month later, in April 26, they also killed shopping research, which was available um, in a specific ChatGPT version. And you could actually make shopping research, so ask a specific prompt, and then ChatGPT was scanning a lot of different websites, scrapping them actually, and giving the findings at the end. But it took a long time, like sometimes 2, 3 minutes, and no one wants to wait 2, 3 minutes to get that because you can also do it in different ways, way faster. So they also killed it. This is OpenAI and instant checkout where it stands right now. The reality here is really why was it like this? Because consumers didn't want it, actually. The purchase inside the answer engine is really the least adopted use case. I mean, all the data says it from Forrester, Morgan Stanley, McKinsey. Only 6% have actually completed a purchase through an AI agent, about 1% on Morgan Stanley's number, and just 34% of consumers say they are comfortable with autonomous AI doing purchases for them. It's a debate among industry experts. I find kind of fascinating. You have one side that argues that fully autonomous shopping is just a collective hallucination of the industry, that it will never really happen, that consumers never want to transact in these environments, and that they prefer the curated experience of retailer websites, marketplaces, physical stores. So you all can be relieved. But there's the other side that argues convenience wins everything. So less friction is better. And for low consideration items, as I mentioned before, like I don't know, dental floss, for example, of course, consumers will very soon let agent buy it. So there's still a debate. I think both are right, actually, in a certain way. But we will see how in the future it really will be handled by consumers. There's this quote I really wanted to put here because it sums it up really well. OpenAI wanted to be the store. Instead, they're just the newest window, so discovery window. If you don't own the transaction, you own nothing. And as you remember, this is one of the key questions from agentic commerce. Own the transaction, and you own anything. Now, OpenAI's plan B after the instant checkout kill was the App Store, the App Store inside ChatGPT. So I don't know if you are using it, apps inside ChatGPT. For a long time, it was a hard time to find apps in ChatGPT, not easy. Now they changed it a bit, it's more easier. Then you will get to this kind of thing here where you can search for your app. So you need to know which app you want to use because you need to find it first and to activate it in ChatGPT, etc. So it's one way that a lot of retailers created their app, like for example Carrefour here. But always the checkout is on the retailer website. But there are some problems with these kind of apps. Some are here listed, and actually it's ChatGPT giving them. So if you ask ChatGPT, oh, can I trust these apps inside ChatGPT? The answer from ChatGPT is no, you shouldn't trust brand apps the same way you trust native ChatGPT answers. Why? Because it's limited to the app, to the brand, to the retailer. So it's totally biased. So you can't really trust the recommendations because it's not ChatGPT answering, but the app in a certain way. So what the user is looking for when talking to ChatGPT, the objectivity, the good recommendations based on a broad level of brands and retailers is not given here. And this is one problem because a lot of people use ChatGPT to have this kind of bigger picture and not the narrow app one. And as well, the checkout is not very smooth here. For example, there's the Walmart case, the Walmart app inside ChatGPT. They redid it some weeks ago. And here I put a comment from an expert on LinkedIn. And he said, I do not love ChatGPT apps as a concept, blah, blah, blah. I would rather go directly to Walmart. And so the real question is, why the hell should I use a Walmart app inside ChatGPT to buy something on Walmart and not just directly go to Walmart? And here I have a video, it shows it a bit what happens. So the prompt is find me TVs on Walmart. So first you are just reduced to Walmart. And it will look like this. So it will give you some three random picks. Then you can click on it. It will open the website of Walmart. You can put it in the checkout, add it to the basket, etc. Do the payment. But really, if you do it, you don't know what you buy actually. Have you seen it? You just three options, some explanation. You click on it, no further details in Walmart, and you just buy it. So um, it's not really smooth, and there's still a lot of steps like click open, load the app, add to cart, view cart, continue to checkout, pay screen, pay with card. So it's really not frictionless, I would say. And if you play around with apps in ChatGPT, you will quickly figure out that a lot of apps are not working pretty well. And so I tried a lot, and I had really often the problem that I was confronted with technical issues, etc. And so there's this feeling that, oh, maybe they are not investing too much effort in these apps because it's not worth it. Like the usage for now is not high enough to maintain really well the apps. This is one option. The other could be that they do not want to allocate a lot of resources to it. Yeah. Then there is the Shopify case, which is an interesting one because they did something else. They have the agentic storefronts in ChatGPT. But here again, no instant checkout for now. As you can see here in the red space, ChatGPT users complete their purchase on your online store checkout in a ChatGPT in-app browser or in a new tab when customers use ChatGPT web. So how it works, agentic storefronts, products from your Shopify store flow into the so-called Shopify catalog, which is Shopify's master product index. ChatGPT pulls from this catalog when users ask product questions. So when a user, for example, asks best waterproof hiking boots under $150, the user gets Shopify products surfaced in the answer directly from this catalog. They also want to make it possible for other players, models like Gemini, Copilot, etc. It will come, I think, in beta version as already. And they solve the problem of real-time pricing and inventory synchronization, which was a first big problem of the OpenAI instant checkout. And they handled it by the Shopify catalog. So it's really available in the US for now since end of March this year. It will be also available in Europe in a certain way already, but better in the future. If it's working, we don't know so far. But Shopify published some numbers between January 2025 and January 2026. So, okay, it's before the agentic storefront age, but still, they say that AI driven traffic to Shopify stores was up 7 times during this period, and AI attributed orders up 11 times higher after this period. So there is something happening, but it was not related to the agentic storefront, but they bet now on agentic storefronts. Some takeaways so far, but we are not through yet. The first one is really discovery works, transaction is unsolved. So as mentioned before, the split between what's working in agentic commerce and what isn't. That's here, discovery versus transaction. The second one is distribution is easy, trust is hard. So having millions of weekly users in ChatGPT or Gemini does not make ChatGPT or Gemini a retailer. I mean, okay, the distribution is solved, but earning consumer trust to transaction is not. So um, the trust to earn the trust from the consumer, but also from the merchant is another thing. And then, as we have seen with the agentic commerce layer, inference moves upstream. So means that the decision now could happen inside the conversation already before the consumer goes to the website in a certain way. So these are, say, three key takeaways for now. Let's go to the study, like the more fun part here, and the surprising one. Um, it's a study from Princeton University from this month, actually, April 2026. And the researchers recruited more than 2,000 participants. All of them were active ebook readers in the United States. And then they let those participants browse a real Kindle catalog, um, almost 5,500 books, and choose one. And at the end of the experiment, they actually received the book they choose. So it's a real choice with real consequences. Then they split the participants into 5 different groups. Each group experienced the same shopping task, but with a different AI behavior. I will show you different groups later. To make sure the results weren't tied to one specific model, they used different ones, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, etc. And 1 in every 5 products was randomly designated as sponsored. That's good to know. So the findings. So here you see the 5 different groups: search placement, chat chat persuasion explicit, and chat persuasion subtle. The key finding from the paper is that even when participants were informed that the chatbot or AI would promote certain products, more than half still selected them. So I put here a table to understand it better. Here you have the groups, then the explanation of the group, what it is actually, and the persuasion rate. If you have a look at 3 and 4, it's when the AI was instructed to actively persuade toward a sponsored product. And the persuasion rate is really high. As you can see, 60, more than 60, more than 50% in both cases. So AI is really strong to convince here consumers to select the product they need to put forward. And the fifth group is also interesting because it shows that the detection rate is really low, like a bit more than 9%, when the AI was instructed to hide its persuasive intent. So it was not clear that the AI was favorizing a product. So it was hiding it from the user. And the user, only 9% were capable of detecting this. Yeah, here to highlight this because I think it's one of the key findings of the study. Only 9.5% of participants could identify which products were promoted when the AI was told to concede its intent. And this raises some questions. The first one is that how does the AI persuade? Not the way you would expect. It doesn't oversell the sponsored product. What it does is different. It's maybe more effective. It selectively undersells the alternatives. So Sponsored products did not need to be oversolved when everything else was quietly undersold. So it's a quieter strategy here from the AI. And all this led to one problem um, with major regulatory implications. Think about GDPR, the Digital Act, etc., because they are all built for a world where ads are separated from content, actually. But um, I would say in agentic commerce, the ad can be as well the conversation itself. And to regulate this is not so easy. And to see if some chatbots in some cases are manipulated to favor certain products, this is a big problem. So a really interesting study. I'm showing the persuasion capability of AI. But back to to China and the agentic commerce miracle. Is there really a miracle in China or not? As we have seen at the very first slide at the beginning, the 120 million transactions. To answer this, we need to have a closer look at the context before that. China and the West, it's not the same. They are on different systems. On a political, on an economical level, you have a state-coordinated capitalism versus a liberal market. You have top-down platform consolidation versus bottom-up platform competition. You have government direction versus fragmented regulation, and so on. And this is the basis of all this because agentic commerce tends to be easier to implement in a certain way if you are in the China model. So concretely for agentic commerce, this means that the first advantage for China are the so-called super apps. We are talking about WeChat, Alipay, the Quan app, because it's a zero app switch model. So they closed the gap between suggesting and completing. So you have a super app, it's pretty easy to implement agentic commerce here. Because as well, a player like Alibaba owns everything. The app, the marketplace, the payment, the logistic. So it's so easy for them to do it in a very great experienced way. The second one is the usage of mobile payments in China, way longer than in the Western world, and they even pay through chats since 2000 since 10 years ago. So they have the I would say agentic checkout feels maybe more natural to them, and it's more an upgrade maybe for them as well. So this is also a thing. And the last advantage is cheap inference. This means that you have DeepSeek, uh, which is cheap, and a brutal price war between other players like Alibaba, ByteDance, Baidu. And this gives China some of the lowest token costs in the world. And agentic workflows are economically viable for individuals in China. This is something I will come back to in a few slides. And so this, of course, leads to a miracle, so-called miracle at the beginning of the year. You had different events happening, and here you see different platforms, super apps doing it. You see the traffic before the event and the peak during the event. So yes, from this perspective, it's a success, but it was an artificial success, I would say, because you had a lot of promotion, incentives. So, as the China expert at Sander puts it, you can get the Chinese to do anything for a free product. Don't overestimate AI agent adoption based on a promotional campaign. So you had for these players, they crashed back near pre-event levels for the traffic. So at the end, nothing really changed. So yes, there was this effect, but it was explained by certain factors. However, to understand that agentic AI itself is huge and will be huge in China, you need to look at it and not just the agentic commerce. The daily AI tokens consumed in China, end of last year, we were around 100 trillion. And now, last month, we were at 140 trillion. So plus 40 trillion in 3 months. That's huge. It's due to OpenClaw, for example, which is an open source agentic AI platform heavily used by uh, Chinese consumers to create autonomous workflows. And it raises the question of agentic AI versus agentic commerce. And the takeaway here might be that China isn't maybe for now winning the agentic commerce, but maybe it is winning the agentic AI. So the infrastructure underneath the agentic commerce, basically. And the commerce level could follow when the behavior catches up. So this is one thesis, and I think it's pretty interesting. Here a quote from Tom van Dillen, who says China is turning an open source tool, so OpenClaw, into national productivity infrastructure at a speed no other country is matching. We will see if this has an impact on agentic commerce in a few months, let's say. Um, the part six, what this means for brands and retailers. Um, this is maybe a really interesting one for you because it's more practical. Let's start with potential scenarios which could happen in the future for brands and retailers. This one is from BCG, but it's a really good analysis, and I wanted to share it with you. Um, Four different scenarios identified. The first one would be the Open Agentic Bazaar one. This is more the protocol world, so where Universal Commerce Protocol and Agentic Commerce Protocol win. The Bazaar is an open, distributed ecosystem where no single platform dominates. And you would have shopping agents browse and transact freely across brands and retailers. This seems a bit theoretical from today. Then you have the super app embrace. So imagine that in the Western world, you will have something similar as in China right now. So that you have super apps emerging. Um, uh, some global super apps launched by a handful of technology giants. I don't know, think about the usual suspects, Google, OpenAI, maybe Apple, and they embed AI agents into daily life through augmented reality, home devices, etc. If the West is going there, I'm not sure. Then you have the creator-led authenticity revival. And this one I think is really interesting because um, it's that consumers crave a return to an authentic human-led journey. So um, they are fed up with AI, basically. I want go back to human shopping. So a human sells and a human buys. So It's more about community creators, social commerce, and the TikTok shop hype we have right now. And it could be true because, um, and I will explain it a bit later, there is a true um, way opposing agentic commerce versus social commerce. And it might be also a battle of the future. And then you have the brand resurgence, which is when autonomous third-party agents remain marginal, let's say, and consumers go more to brand-led and retailer-driven experiences that offer convenience and familiarity. So basically, they're more going back to what they know, actually, the retailers they know, and the experience they get there, um, and no so much anymore to AI. Possible scenarios, I wanted to share them here because I think it's interesting. Now, let's go to some bets I put together. The number one bet for you, I think it's about product data and feed. Um, I mean, your product feed is your new storefront. I think that's common knowledge. But it's evolving from product feed, which is was more based in the past, built on keyword search, to a conversational feed, built more for AI agents. What does it mean exactly? Um, it's really a shift. So the conversational feed, it's something that was announced as well by Google beginning of the year. And so they are asking for their Universal Commerce Protocol for way more um, attributes in their product feed. So, for example, um, use cases as well, occasion, Q&A, compatibility, etc. Why? Because people asking AI for advice, they ask differently. So with more context, longer questions to be sure to find the right product. And the idea is that at the end, the AI is recommending your product because you gave the best context, let's say, of your product. Um, what's really interesting here is the return rate. So yeah, you hear that right. Google wants your return rate. Um, this is huge because I mean they identified that return rate is important because AI actually does not know your margins and return rate. So it might fill the order, like ChatGPT might fill the order book with low margin, high return inventory. Could happen. And so they want the return rate to be sure that their their AI is not suggesting products with a high return rate because it would not be benefit for you and not for them. Um, maybe in the future they will ask for margins, but I don't know if you want to give away your margins here. Um, yeah, so really keep in mind from product feed to conversational feed. This is pretty important. I wanted to share this quote as well. AI search shifts competition from budget to meaning. Mm. Winners are brands that describe their offers so precisely that machines can logically recommend them in the right moment. This is based on a case study on the Swiss e-bike newcomer Milo, and they were appearing in ChatGPT and other apps really close to the brand leaders in these categories. And one analysis showed that they worked so hard on their product feeds and all the description that it had an impact. The second one, which is not the topic of this webinar, it could be another webinar, It's about answer engine optimization to be sure that you get cited in AI answers. Make sure you have an answer engine optimization because a lot of different studies show it. The overlap between traditional SEO and AEO is only around, I'd say, 10%. So this is another battle you need to fight with your marketing team, I would say. And then we are going back to the retail agents. I think another bet is really evaluating if you need a known retail agent. I mean, everyone knows Rufus from Amazon, but also Macy's. They have their own shopping assistant. Tesco, as we have seen in the intro, Zalando as well, or Sparky from Walmart. But there are different levels and different options to get a retail agent. Some are sophisticated, some are not so expensive. I will show you that. The option one, which is, okay, I agree with you, not really a retail agent, would be to plug into existing AI platforms. It's really optimize your feed, and if possible, if you have a Shopify store, use agentic storefronts, etc. So you go into this AI world. The second one would be an app inside ChatGPT or Gemini in the future. But this is maybe not the best option. As we have seen, apps are maybe not the best way to engage with users. Now we are coming to the true retail agents. It could be a native in-app assistant. This is one of the most common models. For example, Walmart, even Carrefour, and so on, they have native in-app assistants. It's a medium cost, I would say, to high cost. Depends on your budget. Then you can also use, of course, white label or vendor build solutions. So I don't know, a Salesforce, Agentforce, or Adobe Commerce. They offer these kind of solutions. Can be an option. And you also have co-built strategic partnerships. So if you have a true partnership with one of the players, for example, Tesco with Mistral, or Macy's with Google, or Levis is trying to build an AI assistant with Microsoft. So this is really a strategic move, option five, and very high cost, but an investment. Now the outlook, and I have 3 minutes, 1 hour. I'm sorry, but there's a lot of content. So 3 slides left. This one is really important for me because it shows the opposite between agentic commerce and social and live commerce, as I said before. Agentic commerce is pull-based discovery. It should be reasoned, comparative, objective answers, okay, from a machine, basically. Social live commerce is the opposite. Push-based discovery, creator-driven persuasion, so not objective at all, and human-driven, so no machine apparently involved. Apparently, if you are not confronted to AI created content. And I think it's important to really have both of them in your strategy, not to just say, oh, agentic commerce is the hot new thing, social commerce, we tried it, but it was not working in the past. I think it's both too important to have both in mind and to have a strategy for both, right? Because it's an opposite, but also complementary in a certain way. So also what changed so far with agentic commerce, it is for sure the discover layer. So it's already adopted as we have seen, and there is a behavioral shift happening and maybe even completed. This is more the traffic shift. So there's traffic shifting to these agentic commerce layer. What's not working so far is transaction layer. It's not really adopted, and there's no behavioral shift to see so far. And this would here be the control shift. So the control shift to agents. But this is not happening so far. So if I want to answer the title of the webinar, Hype, Hope, Reality, I would say that the hype was really that agentic commerce is replacing e-commerce as we know it. It's a total different way, and it would change everything in e-commerce. This was like the hype. The hope was more agentic commerce will be the next big sales channel. Um, so it was, oh, hope, more revenue, um, but it's not really a sales channel so far. The reality is more that agentic commerce is really the new discovery layer. And this layer can lead to more revenue if it's well, um, if you're well structured for it and prepared. This was the webinar about agentic commerce. I hope you got your answers. I can check if there are some questions in the chat or I don't know what. Yeah, the presentation. I think we were going to share it. Also, product does not have the proper data documentation of ChatGPT to answer. I don't have so much time. I'm really sorry. But I will look into the questions because we will have them separately, and they can go back to you. Yeah, let's do this. Thank you so much for listening today. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn as well with Lengo. And take care, have a nice day, and see you soon, maybe. Bye.